Hello, this is News with Joe Vexter. Here is the news. First, I just want to comment on the news story today. A shame of events. Police say 4 people died as Trump supporters occupied the Capitol. 1 woman was shot by police, 3 died in medical emergencies. It's a shame. Case anyone has been falling off of a rock, the news story for today was the U.S. Capitol building got stormed and by a mob of angry Trump supporters due to the fraudulent election. At least they say it's fraudulent. I'm going to do my commentary on that. But it's one thing for peaceful protests. Sure, Trump may have had a gripe to complain, as I don't know if the voting system was off key. Let's just put it this way. A lot of dead people's votes may have counted during the election, based on how the election was going. So if you have majority of them being Biden, then there is a complaint. However, does it give the Congress, or no, does it give it this Trump supporters the right to storm the Congress building, vandalize it, and put the senators at risk? I don't know. In situations like that, they go for a hostile takeover, which we know could be a lot of chaos and a lot of dissent and a lot of other things. But does it give them right? No, but could they do it? How did they get away with it? Well, in this story that I'm going to read from AP News, and this is the top story about 30 minutes ago. Chaos, violence, mockery as pro-Trump mob occupies Congress. I'm going to get into these issues a little bit. I wouldn't go talk about hysteria, but this is basically a hysteric moment, and I'm going to discuss about that. Chaos, violence, mockery as pro-Trump mob occupies Congress, by Mary Claire Jolonik, Andrew Taylor, Lisa Mascaro, and Calvin Woodward. There's a lot of work in this, and I'm going to be serious for a minute, as Lance Storm would say. A lot is going on in the country, and a lot of reporting will be done by Joe Vexter. Washington, D.C., AP News. Where are they? A Trump supporter demanded in a crowd of dozens roaming the halls of the Capitol bearing Trump flags and pounding on doors. They, lawmakers, staff, members, and more, were hiding under the tables, hunkered in lockdown saying prayers, and seeing the fruits of the country's divisions up close and violent. Guns were drawn. A woman was shot and killed by police, and 3 others died in apparent medical emergencies. A Trump flag hung on the Capitol. Graceful rotunda reeked of tear gas. Glass shattered. On Wednesday, hallowed spaces of American democracy, one after another, yielded to the occupation of Congress. The pro-Trump mob took over the presiding officer's chair in the Senate, the offices of the House Speaker, and the Senate dais, where one yelled, "Trump won that election." They mocked its leaders, posing for photos in the office of House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, one with his feet propped on a desk in her office. With his feet propped on a desk in her office. Another sitting in the same seat, Vice President Mike Pence, had occupied only moments before during the proceedings to certify the Electoral College vote. I'm going to read on and I'm going to comment. This began as a day of reckoning for President Donald Trump's futile attempt to cling to power as Congress took up the certification of President-elect Joe Biden's victory. It devolved into scenes of fear and agony that left a prime ritual of American democracy in tatters. Trump told his morning crowd at the Ellipse that he would go to them to the Capitol, but he didn't. Instead, he sent them off with incendiary rhetoric. If you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore, he said. Let the weak ones get out. He went on. This is a time for strength. His lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, told the crowd, let's have trial by combat. What happened Wednesday was nothing less than an attempted coup, said Republican Diana DeGetta, Colorado, Senator Ben Sasse, Republican Nebraska, a frequent Trump critic, said, today, the United States Capitol, the world's greatest symbol of self-government, was ransacked, while the leader of the free world cowered behind his keyboard. It's going on. This article is a long article, and it will go on, and I will discuss this article. But first, I am going to pause. I'm live. I'm actually live. So there's no pausing during this article. I'm going to go on discussing a little bit about what's going on in Washington. Wasn't there, but I do know that there is outrage over the voters. I do know that there is outrage over the election. Possibly dead people's votes were counted as living votes. And, however, doesn't give them the right for a violent attack. But last time we've seen something like this was in the Civil War, where there was anger amongst the people. Apparently, they're rallying behind Donald Trump. Yes. Don't have to say who I voted for, but I will say that it was a tough election. And it came down the middle. But when you have split votes and you have differential between people, there can be hostility. There's hostility between all groups right now, especially coming during the pandemic. So, where does Joe Vexer stand with this? I will, get tired. I will discuss that a little bit during this article. Sassy went on. Lies went on. Lies have consequences. This violence was the inevitable and ugly outcome of the president's addiction to constantly stoking division. Authorities eventually regained control as night fell. Heavily armed officers brought in as reinforcements started using tear gas in a coordinated effort to get people moving toward the door, then combed the holes for stragglers, pushing the mob further out onto the plaza and lawn in clouds of tear gas, flash bangs, and percussion grenades. Video footage also showed officers letting people calmly walk out the doors of the Capitol despite the rioting and vandalism. Only about a dozen arrests were made in hours after authorities regained control. They said a woman was shot in the chest inside the building during the chaos, was taken to the hospital and died. Pay the respects to her family and everything else. Early on, some inside the Capitol saw the trouble coming outside the window. Democratic Representative Dean Phillips of Minnesota surveyed the growing crowd on the grounds not long after Trump had addressed his supporters by the ellipse, fueling their grievances over an election that he, and they say he won, against all evidence. I looked out the windows, could see how outmanned the Capitol Police were. Phillips said under the very risers set up for Biden's inauguration, Trump supporters clashed with police who blasted pepper spray in an attempt to hold them back. Didn't work. Throngs of maskless, MAGA-hated demonstrators tore down metal barricades at the bottom of the Capitol steps. Some in the crowd were shouting traitors as officers tried to keep them back. They broke into the building. Announcements blared. Due to an external security threat, no one could enter or exit the Capitol complex. The recording said a loud bang sounded as officials detonated a suspicious package to make sure it was not dangerous. It was about 1:15 p.m. when New Hampshire Representative Chris Pappas, a Democrat, said Capitol Police banged on his door and told to drop everything, get out as quickly as we could. It was breathtaking how quickly law enforcement got overwhelmed by these protesters, he told the Associated Press. Shortly after 2 p.m., Republican Senator Grassley of Ohio and Vice President Mike Pence were evacuated from the Senate as protesters and police shouted outside the doors. Protesters are in the building, were the last words picked up by a microphone carrying a live feed of the Senate before it shut off. Police evacuated the chamber at 2:30 p.m., grabbing boxes of electoral college certificates as they left. Phillips yelled at Republicans, "This is because of you." Representative Scott Peters, Democrat, California, told reporters he was in the House chamber when protesters began storming it. He said security officers urged lawmakers to put gas masks on and herded them in the corner of the massive room. When we got over to other side of the gallery, the Republicans side, they made us all get down. You could see that they were fending off some sort of assault. It looked like, he said, they had a piece of furniture against the door. The entry to the floor from the rotunda. They had guns pulled. The officers eventually escorted the lawmakers out of the chamber. Shortly after being told to put gas masks, most members were quickly escorted out of the chamber. Some members remained in the upper gallery seats where they had been seated due to distancing requirements. There's more. Along with a group of reporters who had been escorted from the press area, Capitol workers who act as ushers. The members ducked on the floor as police secured a door to the chamber down below with guns pointed. After making sure the hallways were clear, police swiftly escorted the members and others down the series of hallways and tunnels to the cafeteria and one of the House office buildings. Describing the scene, Democratic Republican Jim Himes of Connecticut said there was a point where the officers had their guns and weapons pointed at the door. They were obviously expecting a breach through the door. It was clear that they were pretty close pulling the trigger. So they asked us all to get down in the chamber. As he walked out of the Capitol, Himes said he had lived in Latin America. Always assumed it can never happen here. We've known for years that our democracy was in peril. And this is hopefully the worst and final moment of it. Himes said, but with the president egging these people on, with the Republicans doing all they can to try to make Okay. Let me get back. But with the president egging these people on, with the Republicans doing all that they can to try to make people feel like their democracy has been taken away from them, even though they're the ones doing the taking. It's really hard, really sad. Spent my entire political career reaching out to the other side. And it's really hard to see this. Democratic Illinois Republican Mike Quigley was also on the balcony. It's not good to be around terrified colleagues with guns drawn toward people who have a barricade. People crying. Not what you want to see, he said. This is how a coup is started, said Jimmy Gomez, Democracy, California. This is how democracy dies. Associated Press. Writers Ben Fox, Ashraf Khalil, Alan Fram, Michael Balsamo in Washington, and Michael Casey in Concord, New Hampshire, contributed to this report. Now I'm going to sip my coffee and comment. This democracy of this great land of ours has been around since 1776. We fought the British in a war of independence. And then we fought to protect other countries from coming in and doing their havoc and everything else. However, there have been coups before. But first, I want to start with the burning of the White House during the War of 1812. The British burned the house because they didn't believe in our democracy. They wanted to have some control. However, Sir Francis Key wrote the Star-Spangled Banner. And in times of upheaval, we've got to think of the Republic and we got to think of the democratic process. I'm going to get to the fact of us having problems in a minute. The democratic process. We had civil unrest with a civil war. Family member versus family member. And is better known as the North versus the South. Division. Trump vouched saying Lincoln was his favorite president. But yet, Trump goes against everything Lincoln stood for. Division. Our country and world right now shouldn't be divided based on a fight. Sure, we disagree, but we vote. It's a democracy. Do we agree with half of the decisions? No. But the majority votes for it. Just as they did on the Electoral College. Sure, was there corruption? Maybe so. But you have to ask the question, the Republic. The Republic, and I mean the Republic, is a country that united we stand, divided we fall. What meaning does that have any more to a country that is so divided right now than anything? We have one cause against the other. We have this cause against that cause. Black Lives Matter. Now Trump supporters. Division between the right and the left. And I will say this of what Jesse the Body Ventura said. Sometimes you need the right to get in bed with the left in order for decisions to be made. A coup won't help this country now in a pandemic. A coup won't help. Yes, I am Joe Baxter. But speaking as Joseph Vivaldi right now. A pandemic. What do we know about trying times in the country of division. Date back to the 1920s. There was division, there was upheaval, there was Nazis, there was communism, there was socialism, there was everything. But a capitalist effort prevailed at the end. Now, do we need a little bit of helping our brother out or sister? Yes. Our country is built on it. But should we let Americans suffer in debt because they can't control it? If you were my age, you were brought up on buying stuff. You were brought up on buying toaster ovens. You were brought up on buying VCRs. You were brought up on buying the latest technology. The latest gadget. The latest book. You're brought up, you mass produced. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. But we've accumulated so much stuff, it's not even funny. So we become a debt slave society who needs to be bailed out. That's what it is. I am one of those people who need to be bailed out. But now I'm paying whatever debt that I can to survive on little income. And that's the truth. Most Americans have to pay housing that's about $2,000 a month for rent in an apartment. They have to pay for utilities. They have to pay for this. They have to pay for that. They have to pay for their car. They have to pay to get to work. They got to pay for food. They got to pay for their credit card bills, their student loans. You name it. No wonder why there's upheaval. But yet, we have these people coming down our neck saying, hey, if you don't pay, you'll go to jail. Do I think that the government should wipe out some debt? Yes. Government should help. But debt will be accrued. Will it affect our credit rating? Yes. However, government should help out more than it is. Again, we've had an incumbent, Mitch McConnell, who declined a payment of the stimulus. Now, I don't know the whole details. And yes, are we going into a time where inflation might happen? Yes. But if you look at how much we've spent in this country, it's out of control. And it makes you wonder, where is our money going and why are we broke? And why are we heavily in debt? Makes you wonder. Should we be divided and punish the other person in a time like this? We have stuff to offer. We may be able to sell stuff just to survive. We may have talents to live. We may need to create new ways of doing things. We may need to have the government doing jobs. But the fact of the matter is, most people protesting have lost their jobs. And it makes you wonder why. Because of the coronavirus. But maybe we can't afford it anymore. Everyone is in debt. And we can't get ahead. Do we need to be bailed out? Should we be bailed out? Should we need help? Should we need education? Yes. There should be debt classes. If you attend these classes, online or others, a certain how much will be removed of your debt just as credits. And they should pay you for your education, for taking these classes. Rather than taking from us, they should pay us too. And they should pay us more for sharing that knowledge on to others. And be more harmonious. Yes, I am talking on a tangent right now. But you know what? It's a sad day in our democracy history that the U.S. Congress building got stormed and threatened all the senators. Yes, are they right? Probably not. But anytime you try to overthrow a government because you're unhappy, you gotta think of the damage that it's done in countries in the past because of the views. Yes, is democracy a slow process? Yes. Changes don't happen immediately. That's not life. But we put pressure every day. We put pressure on the people. Situations like that are why we try to do everything. We have more mental health issues than in any other country. And if today is not significant stand to that, then I don't know what is. This country, and I remember earlier on, and this is Joseph Osbaldi speaking, I was talking and I was saying, you gotta fight, you gotta do this is not right, and everything else. But you know what? It was all hysterical. But what's bottom line is, there's gotta be unity in a nation. We're not friendly anymore to another. We're not friendly and we live in fear. So we're not friendly because we live in fear. What did FDR say? There is nothing to fear but fear itself. You know, America has fallen on deaf ears today. And If you're an American like me, you say, that happened? Not in this generation. This generation. This generation wants to riot. Wants to protest. Yes. Protest. But you know what? Your voices are heard. Your voices are heard. All your voices are heard. We want to be heard. We want this cause to be heard. We want that cause to be heard. Yes. But you know what? At the end of the day, are we divided as a nation? Yes. There has been divide for some time. There's been divide since the Bush administration. Many people didn't like Bush, that Fannie Mae happened. And Fannie Mac or whatever you are, those the bubble burst. We didn't like Bush, so we wanted something else. So we got Obama. And I knew from then there was going to be problems along the way. And this problem could have stopped had it been addressed sooner. The problem of race. And everyone's got to get it out of their thick skull that race, one race is better than the other. Because you know what? At the end of the day, you put your pant leg, one leg after another. So there's something more. We're debt slaves. Every one of us is a debt slave. Those who have money make more, but you know what? They have to pay more. So they're in debt to people too. Difference between the rich and the poor? Well, you know what? You choose whatever you want out of the ladder. The more you pay, the more it hurts. You're in debt. Every one of us is in debt. Let's admit that. So let's help another person out. Let's help somebody who's this race. Let's help somebody who's a senator. Let's help somebody who's a writer. Let's help somebody who's on the news. And let's help somebody who may be the next president. Or let's help somebody maybe mental health wise president. Now, but you know what? The problem of a country is when we have great divide and we are discontented. Last year, I was discontented. I've always been discontented. And then I came on the other side during this administration. And I was in Democrat and I'm asking for stuff. Now I feel I have to ask that I need help. You know what? Maybe and And some people could do it on their own, yes. Some people need help. This country is full of people who need help. Rather you're a business owner, rather you're the president of the United States, you think he could do it by himself? Well, you know what? He is having his ego step in the way. Because even if he's right or wrong, many people do support him. But he could call off the hound dogs. Because he wants to overthrow the nation and have a dictatorship. And is that democracy? This country under a dictatorship? No. It's a divided nation. It's divided. You know, do we need government to interfere in business? Well, you know, they can have their policies, but yes, business needs to have their own unity and stuff like that. Do we need to be governed? Well, you know what? If it's any indication of this, there's a lot of rage involved because people need to do stuff. There's a lot of rage involved. Many people can't do it anymore. Many people are just stressed. Many people are stressed. Many of us. When I worked, I was stressed. But I never got ahead. But now, I'm starting to get benefits. It's interesting. I like helping people when they're down. But you know what? Maybe we need to. Is it harmonic to have a country who is divided because you're angry over election, because you're angry over this, you're angry over that? Yeah, I'm angry over stuff too. I have debts too. Do I want my debt to go away just so I could be able to have my own housing? Yes. Did I make mistakes? Yes. Did people take money away from me? Yes. Was that money returned? No. Not by a long shot. By friends, by scammers. But you know what? We have thieves among men. People who protest in mobs. Now they got mobs. Everyone has a mob. Everyone. Democracy? Well, you know what? We need to go through those amendments. Because you know what? Somebody wanted harm done to those senators. And anyone who wants to do harm is no good for anyone. But you know what? There's not enough programs in place. So you know what? If you're a writer and you want to write about this experience, write then. Write about the experience. Let your voices be heard that way. Peacefully. But if you're angry about something, and you're passionate about something, don't go destroying stuff. Yeah. I know you're angry. I know you're angry. I feel your pain. And I was in the hospitals. So I know your pain there. I know you're angry. When you're wrongfully, shouldn't have been there. I get it. I know you wanna just lash out because of this coronavirus. I get it. Maybe you lost a loved one. I get it. Maybe your family member had coronavirus. I get it. But you know what? There comes a time where we have to heal as a nation. There comes a time where we have to heal as one. And you know what? We need to come together, not divided, but as one. One healed nation. Sharing our pains, our sorrows, our anger. Just to release it. Yeah, I'm angry, but you know what? They're angry too. You know what? Violence is never good. Violence is never good. And there's a lot of it. A lot of us who are angry. But you know what? At the end of the day, I get it. I'm angry too. I've been angry. I'm frustrated with my financial situation like everyone else during this coronavirus, even before. We're all trying to pay debts that we can't pay. And we're getting no help from a government that should help us. People who are working suffer like this. In retail positions and whatever positions. people suffer. And also, people who are on disability suffer as well, too. And they need the assistance. Like me. But you know what? We all suffer. And if it's any indication of today with the mob, we need healing. We need to heal. We need to heal. Heal as one. We need to heal as one. I don't care if you're the President of the United States, and I don't care if you're a janitor. I don't care if you're homeless on the street, and I don't care if you're the richest person in the world living in a mansion. We all have suffered, and we all need to heal. We shouldn't let the pain of 2020 carry on to today. Shouldn't let it carry on. Yeah, I know. We want our policies read. We want this. And I think one politician, Holly, wanted to be all the way to the top, go all the way to the top, be the next president. Yeah. Let's use this as an opportunity and a platform. Have you been there? Have you been working as a servant to those who need help? I have. Have you been, maybe I'm not passing policies, but I have been there. Have you been working in the community to better others and start a project to help others in a way that could benefit others for a long time? I have. I don't just say these policies work and everything else. You know what? That's not how policy is done. You gotta earn your keep. You gotta, and this is what I want to say. They disgrace the legends at WWE. You know what? The legends paved the way. What would happen if I, as a writer, trashed William Shakespeare and said his work was garbage, my work is better? You look at me like I'm nuts. But you know what? It's a new day and a new foundation. Respect the legends. Respect what was put there for you. Carry on. I don't know. What's happened in this world? What's happened in this world that we live in? Why can't we heal as one? We need healing. We need healing more than ever. And I know I started this as a podcast, but we all paid the price in one way or another due to the pandemic. We may have had it. We may have came close. We may have known people who suffered. We may have known people who have died. It's tough. It makes you realize and it makes you open your eyes as I approach the 1 hour mark. So, I'm going to go off the air. But I want to say this. And maybe I should have saved this for the Joseph Evaldi podcast. But going to save this for News with Joe Baxter, as I am now Joseph Evaldi. We suffer. We suffer and we suffer and we suffer. Yes, is everything economic going to go our way? No. Do we have to take time to repair it? Yes. Are we going to earn respect? Yes. But we need help. If we have our landlords telling us, you can't afford it, we're going to shut it off, we're going to kick you out, is it right? Due to Corona? Due to whatever reason? This happens every day. It's not right. It's not right at all. It's not right. Now, I'm going to revisit my project next year that I was going to do on the working poor. Maybe I'm more insightful and I was going to go back to it. But I have many other projects to do. The fact of the matter is, we're in times of stress right now. And we need to heal as a nation. We're angry, we're in pain, we're suffering. We're apart, we're away from our family. Yeah, I get it, it hurts. And many of us, many of them, they don't care anymore. Many of us are afraid of the next person who walks into a store because they may have corona virus. They're a foreigner. They're afraid. Because they're afraid of you and you're afraid of them. She says, I'm afraid of them and they're afraid of me. Because we have social anxieties, which were prevalent. But you know what? I had to go on a tangent and go on and speak. Because I've been silent a lot. Silent a lot. The fact of the matter is, it's going to go down on record that our own President of the United States staged a coup. It's not going to say that, but he could have called off the hound dogs. And he could have. And it would have saved one life. Could have saved one life. And 3 others. Remember the song 4 Dead in Ohio? Well, this song is going to sing 4 Dead in Washington. We have a pandemic. We have problems. We have protests. Do we have healing? Do we want healing, or do we want to be angry forever? I don't know. There was a song that was sung all we were saying is give peace a chance. Now, you know what? Peace will never be attained on the earth. Well, maybe, possibly. But you know what? There can be hope at the end of the tunnel. Can be hope. You know what? Maybe we shouldn't live in fear and face our demon that we face. Because better to understand the virus is to understand how it became one in the first place. What our fears were then. If we understand our fears and we understand how it became one in the first place, we'll understand how to cure the virus. This is Joseph Vivaldi, but this is Joe Vexter, Ace Reporter. This is News with Joe Vexter. Have a good night. And as for Joseph Vivaldi, me, have a good night as well. I know this is a long 1 hour and 7 minute podcast. And I know I'm live. But I hope you hear the beck and call of the nation for those who listen to my podcast today. We are in dire need of healing. And we're in dire need to let the pain go and to face our fears. Because like I say, the only way to understand a virus is to understand what caused it in the first place. When we understand what caused it, truly understand how to cure it. This is News with Joe Vexter. Have a good night.